Hey guys, Kev here, and I have a video to do for you. So this is going to be the top 10 right-handed knives for lefties. So the best right-handed knives, or some of the best right-handed knives that work for lefties, if that makes sense. Now, there's some caveats to this, guys. First, you have to be willing to carry right-handed. So if you're left-handed and you're just not willing to carry in your back left pocket or your right front pocket or an extra random pocket or something, then some of these aren't going to work for you, right? Not every one of these has a reversible clip. In fact, most of them don't. But I carry in my back left pocket as a lefty, and I can easily reach back there and pull the knife out with my left hand, operate it, put it away, back in my back left pocket, boom. Works for me fantastically. Keeps the blade tucked against the seam of your pants. It's really good to do it that way, in my opinion. So that's a tip for you. If you're left-handed and you see all these right-handed knives and you just, you haven't bought one yet because you're worried about that. It took me a while, guys. If you watch the beginning of the channel, I was still pretty iffy about that. I really only carried front left pocket. I think I made a couple videos about it. So it's something I've kind of adjusted to over time because I've really enjoyed certain knives, you know what I mean? So I just wanted to be able to enjoy them. So without further ado, we have an honorable mention. That is the Asher Knives Nomad. This is in full titanium with M390. This is a right-handed frame lock, and it does have a reversible clip, which makes it really nice for lefties. Super comfortable in the hand, left-handed. You can operate it a few different ways, left-handed. Works great. But the reason it's an honorable mention is because despite it being awesome, you do have to make some adjustments to reverse flick it left-handed. You can't just flick it because you put pressure on the lock bar. So you got to back off it to try to flick it. Climb down here, put your finger up on the pivot. You have to do something to get it to reverse flick. And reverse flicking is a way of life for me. So if you're not a reverse flick guy, this list might not be that great for you. So sorry about that. But the Asher Nomad in titanium, absolutely fantastic knife. And definitely wanted it to be on the list because at right around $100, it's really hard to beat this knife. And if you're just looking for the best bang for buck, boom, you can just stop looking right now and go find yourself one of these. Asher Nomad in full titanium. Okay, so here we go. These are in no particular order. So I'm just going to start grabbing stuff I have out, and we will go from there. So first off, you're going to see a few different lock types, in particular 3. You're going to see button locks, you're going to see frame locks, and you're going to see liner locks. Now, liner locks and button locks, in my opinion, are very good for lefties. Even though they're right-handed locks, they work very, very well. Frame locks, it's hit or miss, right? Most frame locks, it's tough, being lefty. But if you... if it's built the right way, or the ergos are the right way, or things are slotted the right way, or whatever, you can get away with it. So anyway, the first one on the list is going to be the Mallery Designs Phorus. I absolutely love this knife. And as a left-handed person, it's fantastic. You have a liner lock, so there's nothing to block you from thumb flicking or reverse flicking left-handed. There's no frame lock to put pressure on or anything. Ergonomically, it's fantastic in hand. Honestly, this is something I'd argue as a lefty. Having a right-handed clip makes the knife more comfortable, in my opinion. You don't have something bumping against your palm here when you're bearing down. You just got to make sure it works with your fingers on this side. This is a very flat 3D milled clip. I love this clip. It's kind of loosey, but it works fantastically. And then, of course, you have this finger choil. Just an excellent, excellent knife. Super slim. Just an excellent cutter. The action is pretty good. I mean, it's not like drop shut or anything. It's got a little bit of play there. I might need to maybe adjust this guy. I don't know. No, there's no play. I don't know what that was. That was weird. But you can see there, it doesn't quite drop shut, but Definitely drops to your nail and a quick shake. She's dead center. Just an excellent knife, I think, for the $185 price point these were sold at in S35 VN steel, which I guess is not marked anywhere. Is it? Good for you, Dylan. It's not. And marbled carbon fiber. Not my favorite material, but I get why he used it. And the ergos and cutting and everything is just superb on this knife. But the liner lock and the slot just make it really good for a lefty reverse flick. So that is number 1, the Dylan Mallery Phorus. So number 2 is going to be a frame lock. This is the Kunwu Knives Tau. And the reason why this is good is it's a front flipper and it's a right-handed frame lock. And you guys are going to be like, what, Kev? That makes no sense. It's right-handed and a front flipper. Wouldn't that suck? No. It's a good thing because the frame lock is over here. So normally where I'd be trying to do a reverse flick, I'm putting pressure all over this lock bar to flick it, right? But when you do a front flip, all you're doing is grabbing the jimping, the tab, and your fingers wrap around this side, which has no frame lock on it. So you can easily operate this thing that way. And it just makes it super easy. And then for the flipper, you just don't put your finger right here. It's easy. And the D10 on this is dialed perfectly. The action is like sheer Goroff style action. That's what I like to call it. Very smooth, just kind of controlled, closed on that. Very, very nice. And it works well right-handed, but I hate right-handed, or I hate doing a front flipper right-handed because I tend to put my fingers right on the lock bar, where I think most righties would probably try to hug that clip. It would be over here. You'd be grabbing that clip and trying to front flip. You see there, I locked it up because I'm touching the lock bar, and I don't know. I just don't like using a front flipper that's right-handed. It's actually easier to do it left-handed. So the Kunwu Tau is an excellent example of a right-handed frame lock that works fantastically left-handed. It also has a reversible deep carry clip, and then it has a M390 satin grind. This one has a mirror polish, and just an excellent, excellent knife. And I got this for $134 on their Kickstarter. You just can't beat that. So that's number 2, the Kunwu Knives Tau. So number 3 is going to be the Civivi Knives Royal. And this is the KU321. And you can interchange this with a couple other ones like the 2104D, the 322, the 122. Basically, any of their budget line liner locks with the slot works for me. Basically, you have a liner lock, and it is a front flipper, so easy deployment left-handed. You have a reversible deep carry clip. You have a slot you can reverse flick. Again, no problem because there's no lock bar there. Excellent ergonomics. You can choke up. This is designed by Colin Mason Pierre, who is my partner on Devo Knives and is an awesome designer. Great aesthetic, in my opinion. And it's just a really good budget option. So if you're looking for something that's not going to break the bank, that'll work for you really well left-handed, I would highly suggest Civivi's sort of budget line with the liner locks. They tend to always nail the detent. The action is really good on these. Excuse me. And the ergonomics are fantastic. Centering's good. Fit and finish is good. Just really killing it on that end with Civivi. So that's number 3, I think. And then number 4 is going to be the F5.5. So we're kind of, that's the last liner lock. We went through a few there. This is the Urban EDC Supply F5.5. This is actually the last one I own. I kind of just sold them all because I wasn't using them a lot or carrying them a lot. And I really regretted selling this titanium one the first time. So I wasn't going to make that mistake again. So I'm just hanging on to this one. It's also the first one I ever had, so it kind of makes sense. Now, this is fantastic left-handed. Again, it's a liner lock. It's a nested liner lock. Very easy to manipulate left-handed. Can slow roll it out. Easily manipulate that lock. You can also do a thumb flick very easily, and you can do a reverse flick very easily. Ergonomics are excellent. You have this choil, small, but it works very well. Right-handed clip. For some lefties, you might get caught right here. You just kind of adjust your grip, and you're good to go. Very nice belt satin. This is a Riot-made knife. Comes down to a nice edge. Really good user knife. Just a fantastic everyday carry knife. The Urban EDC Supply F5.5. So that's number 4. Next up, so I do want to say these had to be right-handed knives. So I originally was going to say the best knives for lefties or whatever, and something like, the 80-20.5 or whatever would come up. But this is an ambidextrous lock. This is not a right-handed lock of any kind. Like, no matter what you say, this works left or right equally the same, right? Clip flips, and the lock is straight on the back. The axis lock, same thing, right? They're ambidextrous. That doesn't count. My left-handed knives, those don't count. So it had to be knives that are made for righties that work well for lefties, because that's mostly what you're going to find, right? So let's get another, let's get a higher end one out of the way. I believe we're at, what are we at here? 1, 2, 3, there's 1 or 4, right? So this would be 5. This is the Craig Brown Knives FSD. Now this is going to be, there's 2 in here that are pretty much really hard to get. This is one of them. The FSD here has the brown lock on it, which actually basically operates as a left-handed button lock. It's absolutely fantastic left-handed. It's meant to be used right-handed like this. Much like us lefties always use button locks, right? So he designed it that way so the button wouldn't be pressed against your leg when it was in your pocket. But it works really well left-handed just like this, and I very much enjoyed this. This is probably my favorite knife right now. I've had a couple, but I traded one. I didn't need 2 of them. It's got a beautiful hollow grind, just excellent ergonomics. It's a big knife, though. Very big knife, 3.8-inch blade. I mean, this is me choked up, right? I mean, I can kind of spread it out, make it look a little, but it's big, right? Absolutely fantastic action. The brown lock is basically a modified compression lock. There's a bar on this tab, which is basically an inset liner. And it locks up, actually, if you see here on the blade, there's this sort of slot right here, right? From here to here, it goes down in, there's a slot. And it literally pops out of the side of the frame and locks into that slot down there and makes it extremely, extremely durable, right? It's going to be hard to fail this lock. And it's just beautiful, but comes at an $800 price tag, and it's hard to get. He drops these on Fridays. He does a drop, at least right now. And, he maybe puts up like 8 of them at a time, and you got to scramble to try to get one with everybody else. And I've done that a couple times, and I've been successful. I recommend using Apple Pay or something like that. I got the checkout like instantly. But it's a fantastic knife left-handed. As you can see, it just has a right-handed clip, which kind of disappears into the frame. This is the best milled clip I've ever used. It carries so well for such a big knife, but you got to carry it right-handed, right? Especially with a lock like this, I would highly recommend carrying it the correct way, because it can easily get depressed somehow maybe, and then, you got a knife in your pocket or a pair of scissors in your pocket, so just be careful. So that's number 5, the Brown Knives FSD. Let's grab the last one from over here, number 6. This is going to be the EMPEDC Nymble. And this is another frame lock knife that's right-handed that actually works very well left-handed. So you have the flipper tab, works fantastically left-handed. You just place your finger down. I could probably even put it on the lock bar and it'll still work, right? You have a thumb hole, which, you usually got to give it a little wrist. No, there you go. You have a front flipper, which I suck at. I don't love the jimping on this, but there you go. Front flipper, again, no frame lock to bother you, right? And then you have the reverse flick, which normally, that would be the problem with this, right? You'd be putting pressure on here and having all these issues. But for some reason with this knife, I can just fire it out. And I feel like it's because of the way the D10 is set, the lock bar pressure is set. It just works excellently. And it doesn't mean the D10 is light. Like, it still works great right-handed. Yeah, I can fail it, but I mean, if you try to flick it, it flicks. Now, I will say the newer ones, this isn't a first production. I also have a second production that works great. But then I got a third production one, and that one had a little bit of a tighter detent, and I had to kind of adjust my grip a little more to try to flick it. So I did sell that one. So I do want to warn you there. It's possible the new ones have stronger detents, but it could just be the one I had, right? Ergonomics are fantastic. Again, right hand only carry. This is the Mokutai clip. So, you're going to have to carry this right-handed, but that's really, the only downside to this knife as a lefty. It works fantastically left-handed. So that is the EMP EDC Nimble, and that is number 6. Next up, we're going to grab a button lock knife. So this is your other budget option on the list. This is the Civivi Knives Conspirator, and you can basically add in the Altus here. You can add in the Cogent. You can add in the Chevalier that I have on the way, or I will have on the way when they drop on Friday. Absolutely fantastic knives for what you're paying, and as a lefty, they work fantastically. So much like that brown lock we saw, this is a button lock, and it's on the other side. This is how a button lock works for a right-handed person. You just push the button, and the knife drops. You flick it open, and you push the button, the knife drops. Left-handed, flick it, and then you just got to use your index finger. And it works so well. I actually prefer it that way, I think, as opposed to having a button here. But, hey, it works either way, I think. So I would never, as a lefty, let that hold you back. The fact that the button is over here should not dissuade you from trying a button lock, in my opinion, unless it's the smock, because I just hate the location of it on the smock. But that's me personally. A lot of people love that. Ergonomics, fantastic. This one has a reversible clip. I've never flipped it because I just always carried it in my back left pocket, because I was carrying the Stout nonstop when I got this in my front left pocket. So, but it is reversible just like that, and there you go. That is the Conspirator from Civivi, number 7, I believe. Number 8 is going to be a bolster lock, and this is the Sharp by Design Mini Tempest. Now, I could have thrown in the Devo Knives Stout, which is my design with Colin, but that just feels a little weird to put my own knife on a list like this, so I'm not going to. But they both are bolster locks. Now, this is a more higher-end knife than ours. Our knife comes in around $270, $280. This is a $425 knife. You're getting fat carbon inlays. You're getting this crazy amount of chamfering and everything. You're getting hand satin clip and blade. Just really, really nicely done. Drop shut action on this guy. Now, why does it work well lefty, Kev? Well, it's a bolster lock. So there's something covering the frame lock to where you would put pressure down. And only this part is exposed. So if I go to flick it, I'm not putting any pressure on the lock bar. So it works actually really well left-handed. And then you have the front flipper, or you don't have to worry about the lock bar as a lefty. So it just works out really well, in my opinion. Now, if you have big sausagey fingers or something, you may not be able to get your finger in there to flick this knife out. But most people are able to do it. I will say, if you go to find one of these, you will want to get the drop point. Unless you're very skilled and have small little fingers, you're probably going to want the drop point because it's just easier to reverse flick. You get more access, or there's more space after the fuller for your finger to catch on, something like that. But the way I've always put it is, when you go to reverse flick this, you probably hit it 9 out of 10 times on the drop point, and on the Bowie, you probably hit it like 6 out of 10, But anyway, this knife is utterly fantastic. Aside from just being the most gorgeous knife I've ever seen, it's the most ergonomic knife I think ever, and it's just a beautiful, comfortable, fantastic knife. M390 hand rubbed satin blade. Brian Nadeau is a master, guys, and I actually have 2 of these. This one I just Loctited, so I don't really want to mess with it. I was trying to dial that action in. I just can't get it to drop like this other one. See how it just needs a little encouragement, where this one just drops. So anyway, that is the Mini Tempest, and that was number 8. So number 9, the Oz Machine Company Roosevelt, guys. And this is an absolutely just fantastic knife. And yes, it is very, very hard to get, but they are gettable. I have 2 now, actually. I don't have my second one right here, but I'm getting it tomorrow. I have a friend who was gracious enough to sell it to me for not crazy prices, so I got another one. But this one I paid $1,100 for, when these were, you know, this was probably $800, $850 new, and I paid $1,100 for it. Now they go for like $1,500 or something. So I'm glad I found another one that way. My buddy just happens to be really lucky and he keeps winning the lottos. And then he just didn't need 3 of them, so he sold me one. So shout out to you, dude. Anyway, this knife is utterly just fantastic. It's arguably the best knife ever. I mean, you know, I know that's a hard bargain to strike there, a hard thing to say. The ergos are arguably the best ever as well. That Sharp by Design is, it's right there though. It's a different ergo. This has more finger grooves, but this melts in your hand. I just feel like when I bear down, like if I squeeze really hard, I don't know, I feel them a little bit on both of them. So, I don't know, maybe they're equally ergonomic. But anyway, fantastic. Z-finite steel, so it's not going to rust on you. Just an excellent, excellent knife. And it's great left-handed. So, because he sets the lock bar tension, here, let me back up a little bit. He uses a double detent deployment system. So, there's 2 detent balls in there, actually. And they also, they don't help with lockup, but when closed, there's 2 detent balls sitting there, and it helps give you a real snappy deployment without having the strongest, like, lock bar pressure, right? So that way, he's allowed to have a snappy detent like that, but yet still have a very smooth and almost drop shut knife. Some of them basically glide shut, right? Now, over the year or 2 that he's been doing this, he has adjusted it. The first ones, like this one, from like the first one up to, I don't know, like number 300, they had a snappier, stronger detent, right? Then at some point, like 300 and up, I'm just using rough numbers, he lightened the lock bar pressure so that the knife would drop shut more, and you actually got a weaker detent. Those I can actually like do this and fail. But when you close them, they like just, you know. So it was a trade-off there, right? Now, mine was one of the stronger detent ones, but because I'm left-handed, if I put pressure down on the lock bar, it was tough to fire it out sometimes. Now, if I just go down to the clip like down here, it's easy, right? It never had a problem just doing like this. But I sent it into him right before he started doing spa treatments. He let me send it into him, and he actually lightened it up a little bit. So I basically asked him to set it somewhere in the middle, like between the originals and the newer ones. And he did, man, and it is so good. Like, it's very smooth, like very light shake, and it's down, but I still have a snappy detent. Not as snappy as it was, but still snappy, and left-handed, it's perfect. That little bit of pressure I'm putting down on the lock bar is adding enough to where I can just fire it out. It guns out. Now, if I climb up onto the thing right here, I'm sure I can, no, see, I can still fire it out. So that's why it works so well left-handed, because it actually feels like a stronger detent and just guns out. And then the ergos are great. You can close it like this if you want. You can do the whole, you know, Brandon Ziegler thing, or you can just do it right-handed, whatever you want to do, right? Now, the thumb flick is pretty good left-handed as well. I think it's better than the righty one because, again, frame lock. But, hey, it works either way. just a fantastic knife, and lefty, righty, doesn't matter. And it's probably one of the best carrying knives ever. The clip is really good, and it's just lightweight, thin. Like if you look in there, there's so many weight relief pockets. It's just a fantastic knife. That is the Oz Machine Company Roosevelt coming in at number 9. And number 10, the Pro Tec Knives Malibu. And really, most Pro Techs, right? Now, this is a button lock. So you also have the Mordax, that's a button lock, and the Cambria, that's a button lock. And they work great. You just have the flipper tab, boom, fires it out. Buttons over there. You just use your index finger and pop it in, and it drops shut, right? Of course, you have the right-hand clip. So there you go. But you can get the Mordax and the Malibu, and I think they work fantastically. You just carry them right-handed. That's the only thing. They do make a lot of Protechs now in an actual left-handed knife. Like I have an automatic SBR lefty. So if you just want to go full lefty, it's going to be an auto though. So keep that in mind. But yeah, Malibu, not much else to say about the Malibu other than I love it. I've had like 8 of them. And I think I'll always have one. So it'd be cool if they did a lefty at some point. And honestly, it's just so I can carry it lefty. The button is fine. I like the button like this. Honestly, you get a really good purchase on the knife when you disengage it right-handed. You kind of have to, like, I don't know. Just feels like you get a little bit of a better grip because you're using your thumb as the pressure point. So it works fantastically. So that is your 10 knives. Just 10. It's not like the 10 knife, the best 10. But 10 very good right-handed knives for lefties. So I hope this was helpful to anybody who is left-handed. I know I've been getting more subscribers, and there's got to be some new lefties out there. And even some of you righties, maybe you're curious for a friend, or, you know, you like to, you know, fidget left-handed occasionally, you know. So, yeah. Also, like I said, knives that are not specifically right-handed were not on this list. So things like slip joints are obviously fantastic left-handed because they work the same either way. Now, of course, they don't lock, so be careful. But I absolutely love slip joints. I'm really getting into them. Lockbacks, axis locks, shark locks, things like that are all ambidextrous, right? It's funny how button locks are basically ambidextrous, but for the most part, when you get a button lock, it doesn't have a reversible clip. But like an axis lock, shark lock, whatever, those locks, they all have reversible clips. It's weird. So I guess makers just don't see the button lock as ambidextrous, even though it is so ambidextrous. So anyway, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I really love you all. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day, and I will catch you later.